Hi everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today we're talking about the highest rated books on my TBR. So this is it, this is the top 10 books with the highest average star rating according to Goodreads. Now, there are some exclusions. If a book is not the first book in a series, like if it's later than the first book, if it's like book 2, book 3, book 4, book 5, book whatever in a series, I haven't counted it because I think that books further on in a series have a tendency to get higher ratings just by virtue of the fact that people who don't enjoy the first book don't continue on to the second book, and so on and so forth, so that the audience reading a later book in a series is more predisposed to give it a higher rating. I also just want to stipulate that the star ratings that I'm going to say in this video are subject to change. I manually went through every single book on my physical TBR shelf, of which there are more than 400, and checked their average star rating on Goodreads. Put it in a spreadsheet, sorted it so I could do this because I don't have a Goodreads shelf with all of my books on it that I could do it quickly and easily. And so that's what I did. So it took me a lot of time, and I actually put together the list of star ratings a couple of months ago, so that it's possible that some of these, the star rating has changed slightly, but for the most part, this is the top 10 list. So we're going to go through it from 10 to 1, so 10 being like the 10th most popular, well, 10th, yeah, you know, the 10th highest rated to the most highest rated. You guys get what I'm saying. So coming in at number 10 with an average star rating of 4.32 stars is The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. So I think Heather Morris might be an Australian author. Okay, is a native of New Zealand, now resident in Australia, and we in Australia like to claim anyone who's lived here for even 5 minutes, so I'm sure people are calling her an Australian author. This is obviously a World War II fiction story, obviously very highly rated, and I don't know anything about it except that it's a World War II fiction story. I have enjoyed some World War II fiction, but lately I feel like the World War II fiction that I've tried to read recently, I've been struggling to connect to. So I'll be interested when I read this one to see if I'm able to connect to it the way that I would like to really feel that kind of deep, heart-wrenching kind of pain that you expect to feel with a World War II fiction book. But this is the 10th highest rated. Next on the list is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This is technically tied with the next book on the list. This has a average star rating of 4.33. Speaking of World War II fiction, The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna I have read is World War II fiction, and I loved that book. That was a 5-star read for me. So this is historical fiction again, but it's set in the 70s. I believe it's with a family who a father returns from war, is struggling with PTSD, moves his family to Alaska, and I think it's just about their lives and how they deal with that, like their kind of survival, coming of age type of story. Again, obviously it gets very high ratings. I've heard pretty positive things about this. I think this is going to be very emotionally difficult to read, but it seems that when a book is emotionally difficult or deals with a difficult topic but is done well, it generally ends up getting really good ratings, and so that is the case with this book. So the next book on the list has the same rating. So again, a 4.33 average star rating, and that is Eleanor, Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. This book was everywhere on BookTube last year. Absolutely everywhere. Everyone was reading this, everyone was loving it. So this is about a woman named Eleanor Oliphant who is leading kind of a quiet life. She, I think, goes out and what does it say? Eats the same meal every day, buys the same 2 bottles of vodka to drink every weekend, and is just leading a very ordinary life. And then I think something happens as an event that takes place, and then I think she ends up forming a friendship, and it's about her, again, kind of a coming of age, but like, again, with this one, like coming of age, but I think they're kind of coming of age, but adult coming of age, which honestly is a genre that I'm very interested in, like finding yourself type of stories, I guess you could say. Like I said, this just got amazing reviews. I mean, obviously that's why it's got such a high rating, but I'm very, very interested in this. I mean, I'm obviously interested in all of these books. That's why they're on my physical TBR. Coming in next with 4.34 stars is Aristotle and Dante, Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin O'Leary Sayans. This is a YA LGBT contemporary focusing on a male-male romance. Again, kind of coming of age in nature. I think this, again, a couple of years ago was everywhere on BookTube, and I've wanted to read this for a really, really long time. It's got a whole bunch of like nomination and award-winning stickers on here. Again, obviously that's why it's highly rated. Coming in next with an average star rating of 4.37 stars is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. So this one is a story about a little boy whose mother has terminal cancer, and then a tree monster, which always makes me think of Groot whenever I hear that, starts visiting him at night. And I think this is a story just about him. It's a story about grief. It's a story about accepting, you know, things that maybe aren't great in your life. Everyone who ever talks about this talks about how this literally is going to rip your heart out of your chest. I really want to read it, but I also, like, am I prepared? I don't know if I could ever be prepared, but obviously the star rating, average star rating speaks for itself. Can't wait to get to this. Kind of am also scared. Next on the list, so we're in the top 5 now, is The Martian by Andy Weir. The average star rating for this one is a 4.40 stars. So again, this one's actually technically tied with the next book on the list. So this, again, I mean, obviously because we're booktubers and we talk about books that we like, the books with high average star ratings are books that are talked about a lot on BookTube. But this is interesting in that a lot of people who are reading and loving this are not necessarily people who typically would read a sci-fi novel. And like, I'm interested in it, and sci-fi is definitely not one of my genres or like my go-to genres. This is about Mark Watney. Is that his name? I think his name's Mark Watney. I feel like I've heard that, but it doesn't actually say that on the back. But I'm sure I've heard people say the name Mark Watney. And he gets stranded on Mars, and it's a story of survival. Apparently very, very funny, which is the main thing that I'm excited about. But I typically don't find books that are supposed to be funny. So I'll be interested to see whether this resonates with me or not. I'm also concerned a little bit about this one is because apparently it's very scientific, like in the way it's written, and science and I are not great friends. I dropped out of every science subject as soon as it was humanly allowed in high school. And I feel like so a lot of this book's just gonna go whew, right over my head. But hopefully if it's funny enough and like enjoyable enough, I could just get past the science. I don't know. A lot of people love it, so it can't be like too like pretentious in the way that it's told, otherwise people wouldn't love it. So I don't know. This is one that I'm probably the one on the list that I'm least convinced that I would love the same way other people do, but I'm excited to read it one day and find out. So next, again with a 4.40 average star rating, is Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is interesting that it's this highly rated because it's compared to Harry Potter. And generally anything that's compared to Harry Potter automatically gets lower ratings, because once you compare something to Harry Potter, which is so prolific and so loved, people are automatically disappointed. But this is apparently living up to the hype. It's about a girl named Morrigan Crow. She's cursed. I think it says something, I don't know how old she's supposed to be, but she's going to die on like her next birthday, her 12th birthday or something. Does it say on the back? I'm trying to skim really quickly. I can't find it. But then instead of her dying, she gets whisked off to this magical world. I say everyone who I have seen read this has really, on BookTube, has really loved it. And my niece has actually read this. She's reading book 2 right now as we speak. And she really loved it as well. So a hit with all ages, evidently. Really, really, really want to read this. But I'm scared because I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and I'm scared that that like comparison is going to destroy this book for me. But I'm hopeful. Moving into the top 3 with an average star rating of 4.41 stars. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. So Colleen Hoover is an author that I want to read every book that she's published. This one, obviously with it being this high on the list, is one of her very most popular ones. It's more of an adult, I think, romance as compared to it being new adult. And I think this one might deal with a abusive, like toxic relationship, which is something that I'm interested in. But apart from that, I tried to kind of stay quite blind on this. Didn't want to be like too spoiled for it. So I haven't looked too deeply into it, but very, very high average rating. coming in at number 2 with an average star rating of 4.42 stars is Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. So this is a literary fiction, historical type of novel. It's about 2 sisters who, one of them who have 2 very different destinies. One is sold into slavery and one becomes a slave trader's wife. And then I think it's kind of told almost in like short story type of fashion where we follow them for several generations as each sister's like storylines kind of veer off, and we see how those decisions in that first generation affect the future generations. I'm scared that this one's going to be too literary and too like over the top literary, that it's going to go over my head and that I'm not going to be able to love it the way that I want to, but I want to love this, and I think that I will. I hope that I will. I also, these are typically not colors that I would love, like yellows and oranges, but I really dig this cover. So there's that. And now, the highest average star rating book on my physical TBR shelf with a whopping 4.55 stars. I'm sure you can all probably guess what it is. It's The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. I'm one of the only people ever on the planet to not have read this. This, like 4.55, to have an average rating above a 4.5 is honestly kind of ridiculous and just speaks wonders to how amazing this book must be. So this is about a girl named Star. She's a black girl. She goes to a party and she's driving home from the party with a male friend who's also black, and they're pulled over by the police, and her best friend ends up being shot by the police even though he was unarmed. It's obviously a very like, it's inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement, and it's going to deal very heavily with those like cultural topics that are so prevalent like in today's society, particularly obviously in the United States. So I can literally think of one person on BookTube that has read this and didn't like it. And that's saying a lot, because even sometimes when you'll say, oh, so many people read about this book and talk about it and love it, literally everyone and their mum, I feel like, read this when it came out, and everyone and their mum, apart from that one person, loved the shit out of this book. So I think this is just going to be so impactful, I think is a good word that's probably going to describe this book. But I need to read it because, and I love this bright pink spine, because like I said, I'm like the only person on the planet who hasn't read it yet. But this is the book with the highest average star rating on my TBR shelf. So that's it, you guys. Those are the books with the highest average star rating on my physical TBR shelf. I would love to know if you guys have read any of these. If you've read a bunch of them, which was your favorite? Was it The Hate You Give? It probably was. I mean, everyone loves this, right? But I would love to know, or if there's books that you expected to see on this list that you know that I probably own that weren't on here that you're expecting to see, let me know. I'd love to know that as well. Also, let me know if you're interested. I think I'll do a lowest average star rating, which I'm almost more interested in than the highest star rating, because I kind of love going into a book knowing that it's got a really low rating, because I'm kind of excited to see if it's as bad as what you think it will be. And then sometimes it can be fun for them to be that bad. But then also, sometimes it's exciting because it's like, what if it's got this really low rating, but then I love it, and then it's like a hidden gem. So there's that excitement as well. So if you're interested in seeing a lowest star rating video as well, please let me know, because I'd be very excited to film that. So yeah, please, let's chat in the comments down below. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. That is all I have for this video today. Bye, guys.